Imagine you are sitting at home watching television and you can hear the Law and Order theme song playing in the background. Next, a detective comes across the screen and is seen handcuffing a suspect. Almost everyone has the next lines memorized, the famous, "You have the right to remain silent" spiel. But what does this speech actually mean? Most people in today's world know what Miranda rights are, but very few people know the value of reading someone their Miranda rights. Miranda rights are what are read to criminal suspects as they are arrested and taken into custody by law enforcement. It is critical to understand what Miranda rights are and understanding the protections that they offer in the event that you are ever arrested. As U.S. citizens, it is imperative that you understand the protections and safeguards offered by the Miranda rights so that you are able to exercise these rights. Today, I will inform you about Miranda rights, where they originated, and what they mean for you. My name is Katrina Rostorfer. I am a criminal justice student, and I have taken courses that cover criminology, criminal justice, and criminal investigations. Today, I'm going to explain to you the origin of Miranda rights, what exactly they are, and what protections they offer to you as a U.S. citizen. Let me begin by identifying Miranda rights and where they originated. Miranda rights became famous from media, often portrayed as a law enforcement officer in movies and television, reading the famous lines of, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you. Do you understand these rights?" But the reading of Miranda rights was not always part of arresting and interrogating suspects. The implementation of the Miranda warning came after a Supreme Court ruling in the case of Miranda v. Arizona. In 1963, Ernesto Miranda was convicted of rape and kidnapping after he offered a written confession of his crimes. Ernesto Miranda was never informed about his right to protect against self-incrimination or about his right to have an attorney present. According to the United States courts, in the case of Ernesto v. Arizona, the Supreme Court said that the interrogation of Ernesto Miranda violated his constitutional rights. The ruling in this case led to the implementation of the Miranda warning, or reading someone their Miranda rights. While it is important to know the origin of Miranda rights, it is also especially crucial to know the components that are included in Miranda rights so that you are being informed properly in the event that you are ever arrested. There are several key components that are included in a Miranda warning. The first is the right to remain silent, and also the knowledge that anything that you say can be used against you in a criminal trial. The next is the right to counsel. This also covers the right to a court-appointed attorney for someone who is indigent. Finally, the ability of the suspect to invoke these rights at any time, and also the ability to waive these rights. Each part of this Miranda rights must be covered when someone is written their Miranda warning, and it must also be proven that a suspect understands these rights as they are read to them. Failing to Mirandize someone or read them the Miranda rights can mean that any subsequent confession obtained is inadmissible in court. Now that you know where Miranda rights originated and what they are, let's look at what they mean for a suspect. There are three main concepts covered in Miranda rights. Each holds certain protections and safeguards for the person in custody. The first and most famous line of the Miranda rights is the right to remain silent. The right to remain silent goes hand in hand with informing someone that anything that they say can be used against them in the court of law. The right to remain silent secures the Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. It is the duty of law enforcement to explain to someone that anything that is said in an interrogation or interview can be used against them in the event that they are prosecuted for a crime. Reading someone about their right to remain silent, and also the fact that anything that can be used against them in a court of law, ensures that not only do they understand they have the right against self-incrimination, but that they understand the possible consequences of failing to invoke these rights. Arguably, the most important part of the Miranda rights is the right to counsel. As part of the Miranda rights, a suspect must be informed of their right to have an attorney present during questioning. This guarantees that in the event that someone is arrested and they are interrogated, they have the ability to have a lawyer present with them during this process. It is imperative that people understand they have the right to an attorney because interrogations can often be stressful and confusing, and it is the duty of a lawyer to help people understand their rights and make the best decisions for their own interest. If a suspect is indigent, they are still guaranteed the right to counsel. It is important for people to understand this so that it is not misconstrued that the right to counsel only covers those who are able to afford an attorney. It must often be proven that someone is indigent, but after this has been done, it is the responsibility of a judge to appoint an attorney to them. Finally, the Miranda warning explains that all of these rights that have been read to someone are able to be invoked at any point in time during arrest or interrogation, and that also they may waive them completely. When someone is read a Miranda warning, law enforcement must inform them that they can invoke these rights at any point in time after arrest or interrogation. That means that if you choose to speak to law enforcement, but that you then change your mind and decide that you don't want to talk anymore, you can invoke your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. This also means that if someone did not originally have an attorney present when they are being questioned, but they decide that they want to consult one, law enforcement must stop and cannot question the suspect any further until an attorney is able to be secured by the suspect. The ability to invoke these rights at any time also comes with the ability to waive these rights completely. For someone to waive their Miranda rights, it must be proven that these rights have been read to them in their entirety and that they knowingly and intentionally waive these rights. At this point, someone can continue on with questioning, but it is imperative that law enforcement is able to prove that these rights were read and that someone chose to waive them. If it is not proven that someone was read their Miranda rights, or if questioning continued despite someone invoking these rights, the confession is held as inadmissible in court. It is especially important to read people their Miranda rights because some people are uninformed and they did not know these rights, so they might self-incriminate without realizing that they have the chance to prevent it. Had Ernesto Miranda been read his Miranda rights and informed that he had the right to remain silent or the right to counsel, he may not have confessed. But had he been read his rights and he chose to waive them, his confession would have been upheld in court. It is important to understand the protections offered by the Miranda rights to ensure that you know what rights you have in the event that you were ever arrested. In summary, I have identified Miranda rights and broken them down to a basic level. Not only have I explained what they are and where they originated, but I have covered the protections offered in the Miranda rights. You should now have a better understanding of your Miranda rights and be able to make informed decisions regarding these rights in the event that you were ever arrested.